you have a closeness here in Flint, a closeness to the Reverend Jesse Jackson that not many people were fortunate to have. Can you talk about what it meant as you were leading the fight for justice for yourself and for residents during the water crisis, what it meant to you to get the support, not just a cursory support, but someone who would come into town, march with you, really fight for what the people deserve? What did that mean to you?
Well, I was new. I'd never been an activist before, and it was funny. It was January of 2016. We were doing a press conference for us filing the lawsuit to replace the pipes, and all of a sudden this very tall man with this huge stature came in, and I realized it was Reverend Jesse Jackson, and I said, I've read about him in books, and I was totally scared. I was in awe. I'm like, what's he doing here? But he rode a train from Chicago over to get there for our press conference and to stand with us, and then pulled me aside and started asking me, what are the details? What are the people needing? What's happening? What's going on? And later he would take that information to go walk into Governor Snyder's press conference that was kind of alternating, saying the opposite, and went toe-to-toe with Snyder with the information that I had given him. And then we worked on the march, one of the biggest marches that Flint had pertaining to water. And then whenever there was a press conference or a release or something happening, he'd catch a train over here or send us to Chicago, or all of this different stuff. Always calling, always checking in, always asking us from the ground, which to me, who had never been an activist, and a lot of people snubbed me because who am I, covered in, tattoos, and I'd come from the metal scene, not, the activist or organizer scene. He treated me just like he treated everybody else. And every resident that came up and talked to him, he wanted to hear their story. He wanted you to tell him what was happening on the ground. He did not want to hear it from the politicians that did this. And he believed us, which at that time, especially in 2016, was hard to find. And so he taught us so much. Like, if we had issues or concerns about outside agitators coming in, people wanting to turn us into a Ferguson where it was just a riot so nobody would take us seriously, he would stop his meetings, take a call, and start giving us advice, because I didn't know what I was doing. And then one of my favorite stories is we were getting ready to go to the congressional hearings in DC, and we had got buses. The unions had helped us out with getting buses, and I was taking my sons with me, and he had asked me if I had money for groceries. And I said, what are you talking about? Because he knew I was off work because I had started having seizures, and I had unpaid sick leave. And so he said, came up to me, grabbed my hand, and said, you need to get food. He was like, I know that bus route to DC, and it's all just truck stops, and that's not good food. And I talked about the food allergies my sons and I had developed, and he said, I know you can't have those nasty glutens. And so then when he grabbed my hand, he let go of it, and there was money in it. And I said, I can't take this. I don't want money from you. It's okay. I can get money. And he didn't say a word, just crossed his arms and turned around like a kid. Like, I kept going around him, and there's a bunch of people sitting there laughing because they know what he's doing. And I couldn't understand. I said, I don't want to take money. I said, I don't want to take money from you or anybody. But he wanted us to go to the grocery store first, take a cooler for me and the boys. He said, I know how much young boys eat, grown boys eat. And he said, you need to be healthy and strong for the fight. And later on, Sanita, his daughter, had told me that when Jesse Jr. had gotten sick when he was very young, that her dad was, poor. He was working his way. He was interning for Dr. King, and he was going to school and working as a waiter. He went to the hospital, and he had pneumonia really bad, and the hospital said, well, if you don't pay us $500, you need to take him home so he can die, basically, at that time. And he was dealing with racism and classism and all this stuff. He didn't have the money, so he had called Dr. King, panicking. Dr. King got on the phone with the hospital and said, hold on, I'm flying right down there. He didn't pay the hospital bill, so his son survived. So since then, that's always stuck with Jesse and the whole family, that you give to people. You give and you pass it on, and you don't ask for anything in return. And that's something that I've always kept with me with the fight. When talking to people, you give what you can and do what you can. Nobody's perfect. But when somebody does you a kindness like that, you continue. So we do, and I do to this day. I mean, it's been over 10 years, and the lessons that I've learned along the way, and staying in contact with him and his family, and all of the impact that he's had on not just Flint, but on people in general. it goes overlooked, and he doesn't ask. He didn't ask for, recognition on this, that, and the other. He didn't say, okay, let's take a picture of me handing you a 20 or 40 or whatever it was. He said, just stay healthy for the fight. And then he talked about how Flint could be a bridge because poison water impacted everybody, and that we needed to follow Dr. King's goals of uniting everybody across race, class, gender, and geographic lines to stand up for justice. And if the 99% of us could stand together and unite, that we could make our government actually work for us like it should.
You had a personal conversation with his daughter today after his passing. I don't want you to share exactly what you said, but what was your message to Sanita and to her family?
The message to the family and all of, the Rainbow Push Coalition and everybody that, because it's a big family there. It's everybody is welcome. Like they adopted me, they feed you, they take you in, they teach you. My message to everybody that has, is in that family is that, we appreciate here in Flint everything that Reverend Jackson and his family, his children, his whole network has done, the time that they spent with us, the lessons they've learned, the attention, the helping to uplift our stories and what we want, which is why, he was asking, what do we need in Flint? And he said, Flint doesn't need bottles, they need pipes. This needs to be fixed and fixed properly. And so just that, we love them, and that, we appreciate everything that they've done on and off camera, the things people don't know about, and just that, he'll never be forgotten, and he's touched our lives in such a positive way that, we can never thank him enough for. So, just letting them know that we love them and appreciate them, and I know, changed my life a lot and learned a lot. And also this big, tall, scary guy from the from the history books that did all this work and, marched with Dr. King and learned from him and all this stuff was actually a big, giant, soft teddy bear unless you hurt people, and then he wasn't. So that was okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Appreciate it.